Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Solid Snake.
And today we are going to be going over, let me grab the right one, Fist Ultra Edition from Claymore.
Ryan's actually holding my copy, so that's why I'm holding up just my hands. So
yeah. Well, I mean, technically, they sent it to me, and I said you could have it, and then forgot to send it to you. But yeah, this is Fist. This is Freelance Infantry Strike Team from Claymore RPGs. This is a really awesome, interesting game that we've talked about for quite a while. We've wanted to do for quite a while. And it was a great time to do it because guess what? They got a Kickstarter starting in like 3 days.
I'm super excited for the Kickstarter. So,
dude, so hyped.
I'm excited. I'm like watching Fist kind of slowly take off this past like year or so. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, hell yeah. This is really getting there. So
I feel like the Kickstarter is going to blow it up even more because if you look at anytime someone talks about Fist, they're like, fuck yeah, Fist. But I feel like it's not talked about as much as how big it actually is, which is weird. If you go to like even like the Kickstarter link, it has a ton of people that have already saved it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people.
It's really cool. Like it is it's a very cool game. I'm excited to go through. It's actually for the most part, like, so the book, the Ultra Edition is like 152 pages and the rules are really only like 10 pages.
Which,
if even
realistically, there's a page in the book that has every rule on one page, and you know what? That's the kind of game I love.
Yeah, we do love that. But the options for character creation and the tools they give you as like the referee to run the game are like, yeah, out of this world.
What's crazy? So this is Fist Ultra Edition, right? This is original Fist, and for those in podcast land that can't see the difference here. I think the original one is, let's look at how many pages total here. We got 25 pages. Yeah. So, like you said, the new one is, what is it? 151, 152 pages. So it's only a lot bigger. It's only like 6 times bigger. But yeah. So, I don't think that we've got anything to spotlight because we really haven't spotlight anything in quite a while. I feel like maybe there is, but we're just not gonna. I think we're just gonna hop straight into.
I got nothing
Fist.
super. This is kind of where my brain's at. So
then let's just hop into it.
Let's do it.
Let's fucking do it. All right. So game read through. We're in. First of all, let's talk about that logo.
It honestly is such an iconic logo that I was aware of the logo before like actually going through the game. I kept seeing it pop up on Twitter and I was like, okay, what the fuck is this? I have to read this. And very cool.
It's great. And you know, one of the things I really, no, go for it.
Go ahead. No, finish what you're saying.
One of the things I love about the logo is that this motif is throughout the entire like vibe of the game the whole way through.
It also kind of sets the mood immediately. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm like infantry. Well, I can speak strike team game. Like, got my fucking rifle, man. I'm about to go shoot people. Very cool.
I'm gonna go shoot people. It's very. But for those in podcast land that do not know what we're talking about, the word fist is in a very nice, big, bold, sans serif font. And then the top right, it says Freelance Infantry Strike Team, which is what Fist stands for. And then kind of overlaid over Fist is the outlines of a like blown apart diagram of a rifle, like labeled with numbers and everything like that. And it's so cool.
It is really cool. It's also like it was a good decision to make Fist so big and bold and like, because it's still very readable while this is overlaid over it. I'm like, oh, great decision. Like, this is a good design choice, you know?
It's great. It's absolutely great. And even just like the black over white and white over black with like the hollow, Like anywhere that it's white with the logo is black, obviously in the diagram of the gun, and anywhere it's not, it's white. But it's so clean and smooth, your brain doesn't even really notice that at like at all.
I honestly just now when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Boom, perfect. There we go. So so this is Freelance Infantry Strike Team from Claymore Role-Playing Games, a paranormal mercenary role-playing game. And I do like that they dropped the paranormal in, because this could be not that at all.
Yeah, you could totally run this as like a straight like Cold War espionage game. But you could also run this as like maybe like some weird offshoot of like Hellboy or Fear, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot you could do with that. You could do the fucking A-team with this, you know?
Yeah. That's the thing is, I think I was tweeting back and forth with Claymore RPG about like use cases. I think at one point they said that there was like a group of 12-year-olds that did like a campaign. Their final boss that they thought was like Ultra Instinct Joe Biden. So like I feel like there's a level of absurd satire or like meme humor that we were just talking about before we started that you can bring into this. Like it's very enjoyable. Like it's a very enjoyable game that feels very fresh, you know?
Well, it's there's a line in the book, and we'll find it when we get to it, but it says something along those lines of basically this is the kind of game that like you take serious, that it's a joke very seriously. Like it's kind of game where you really get into like how ridiculous your character is. Almost like it's almost like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, where he's like very serious about being like that, the black guy or whatever, but he's like, the character is ridiculous, but he's being very serious about being that ridiculous character. So
yeah,
that's definitely what you could do in this. So a quick breakdown, and I love this right off the bat. This really simple, really clean. The only real little like lore in the entire game, because the game is very anti-canon, and it reinforces that constantly, which I really like. And we'll
a
go over that in a
lot.
moment too.
It's very consistent in this.
Very consistent in the fact that it doesn't have any consistency, and you can make it what you want, which is great.
Consistently is like there is no canon. Reject canon.
But the little bit that there is, just the kind of the vibe setting more than like a scene setting, is this section here. It says, now, the second half of the 20th century, the powers that be are locked in a tense nuclear standoff, and the fate of the world hangs in the balance. Away from the watchful eye of national intelligence, a cadre of exceptional misfits is assembled. The soldiers of fortune are uniquely equipped for covert and unusual operations. In these uncertain times, the line between science and superstition has been broken, and the new arms race is only beginning. You, or your associates, may be faced with weapons, tactics, and actors unlike any you have ever seen. For a price, those exceptional misfits can help. When you're all out of options, it's time to call Fist.
Nice.
So good. So good. I will say, one of the things that I really enjoyed going all the way through this is how well it's written. Like it's very workmanly, but it's very well edited, I'll say. I mean, we've read books where it's like, God damn, that's a run-on, or you really could have used an apostrophe, or like you clearly missed that. Beginning to end, this is extremely well-written, well-edited book, and that's really great to see. So right off the bat, we get to a credits page, and right off the bat also we get this half-page piece of art, which is another kind of like diagram page, which again immediately sets you into kind of like the vibe of the game.
I think it's a bomb.
Do you think it's a bomb?
I think it is.
I don't know. I feel like it's maybe it is a bomb. With things like this, you don't know whether it's really big or really small. You know?
Yeah.
Is that like what, like number 14 in the top? Is that like a silo, or is that like a component piece?
14 in the top. Yeah. Oh.
But if it was a room, it would be way too tight to actually do anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's a room. I think it's definitely a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
But regardless, I love the inspirations for this, by the way. Metal Gear Solid, I think that's a very obvious one, right? A-Team, great one. Doom Patrol, but my favorite one's the last one.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I like World of Dungeons, which is great because the system is very, very, a lot like that. But I also like Doom Patrol in there. Like I don't know. Have you watched the HBO?
I
Doom
haven't.
Patrol?
I know. I'm aware of it. Yeah,
it's so good. I need to catch up, but what I did of when I had watched it, where it was at the time, it was really good. It does have some content notes here, which are kind of, by content notes they mean like, you know, content warning, war, oppression, drug use, cults, self-harm, suicide, body, cosmic, psychological, medical horror, conspiracies, and animal harm in a camp sci-fi style. I'm down.
It's like every type of horror.
Yeah, good to know, but thank you, and we appreciate it. And then the license, the great thing about this is it is in the CC BY SA 4.0. It is a Creative Commons game. Make whatever you want. Please make more Fist. And there we go. And then how to use this book. I think this is a great place for this. I think this is a great thing to have in the book. Fist Ultra Edition is a simple game. Sure, it's over 150 pages, but the basic rules you need to know wrap up by page 9. The referee advice is done by page 36, and you can find a 2-page summary of all critical game information on pages 71 through 72. You can make a fully fledged character in a few seconds and embark on your first mission within a half hour. So what's all the other stuff? Put simply, it's the book. The book is full of toys. You don't need to read the whole thing, although we've done our best to make it enjoyable to do so, and you certainly don't need to commit it to memory for the game to function. Here's hoping you enjoy the game however you may play, and of course, thanks for playing. I love that. That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah. Like this, you know, there's a lot in here, but it is surprisingly clean, both in presentation and like how you're saying how it's written, like all the way through.
Yeah. Clean.
Yeah, I wonder how big this is going to. I feel like the Kickstarter is going to blow it up a lot, because I feel like it should be bigger than it is, you know?
It should be bigger. I will say, when we get to the rules, I absolutely love them.
Yeah.
There is not really anything groundbreaking in them. But the way that they're used and put together is fucking fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. You know, it's not like a completely new thing that people are going to get, but Avatar was the biggest thing ever, and it was just fucking PBTA. So like,
I know,
you know,
God. Hey, listen, I mean, at least they got the Emmy for best rules or whatever. Yeah. But I think for me, it's not even like, the rules are not groundbreaking, but it's like the procedures and the manual like nature for like how to run a Fist game. And this, I'm just like, oh, it's gold. You know, it
is gold. Yeah, it's gold. That's the thing, is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just make a really good fucking wheel. You know what I mean? And this wheel, so I will say right off the bat, at least for now, the PDF that's been put out, and this is the one that's on itch, and it's not on Kickstarter, and maybe, you know, this is what we do here is we give enough shit so that maybe they'll do it. And I have a list in the double digits already of games that people were like, I will put hyperlinks in, because guess what? It's not hyperlinked. I will say it is bookmarked, and it is, as far as I can tell, it's pretty heavily bookmarked, which is really, really great, which, you know, realistically kind of acts as hyperlinks a little bit. But there are a lot of like inline references, and it would have been nice when we get farther in the book. There are a lot of
inline references. I agree.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that. One of the things I really do. Well, let's go through the index real quick, and then we'll get to one of the things that I was going to say. So right off the bat, as I said, the first 9 pages are the player section, and it's really what you need. So there's getting started, making mercs, example characters, rolling the dice, squad tactics, playing dirty, ongoing games, and example of play. That's all in the first 9 pages. I think the example of play pushes it a little farther. Then there's a referee section, which is getting started, playing fair, quality, fiction, using agency, referee, FAQ, mission making, example mission, building worlds, modding Fist. That takes you from 15 to 35. So the referee section is twice as big as the player section. It makes sense. Like, you need more of that.
Yeah.
And then you have the supply section, which is a trait index, role index, intelligence matrix, print materials, and character sheet, and that runs you from 39 to 152. So yeah, we talked about this kind of in the beginning, and I'm not going to state an opinion on it. It's just because I haven't decided yet. But it's like, could this have been 2 books? Could you have like a table for the book and then like a table for like all the indexes and stuff like that? And it's interesting, and that's a conversation that could be had, because it is a pretty big book. But at the same time, like, if you separated this just so you have all the indexes as a separate thing,
right?
like cutting just like 30 pages off, does it really make that much of a difference? Not really.
Right.
But so I think
like 70-ish of the pages are just the intelligence matrix, which is like tools and tables for running, you know?
Right.
So like, I mean, maybe like I think there's an argument for that being its own separate thing. But I like one book, man. I do like buying a single book. There is something to be said about like, hey, you got one book, you know?
Yeah, and I will say the oh, I'm sorry. Claymore RPGs just hopped in. So ADHD says we read this. Hey there, the diagram on the first page is John Tater's time machine, allegedly from the 2030s. Also, we are adding hyperlinks. It's about half done. Boom. Perfect. Amazing. There you go. So everyone out there, they will be there. What were we saying?
We're talking about the intelligence matrix.
Oh,
and like buying 2 books versus buying 1 book. And I really am in the camp of like, want 1 book. I gave away all my D&D books, man. I just want 1 book for a game, you know?
I agree. I think I 100% agree. I've come to the opinion that that's perfect for this. I think that's great for this. I will say there are some books out there where the rules might be a little bit more, and then the stuff you get with it isn't as kind of necessary as this.
Yeah.
And that not having that extra bulk to the book you actually need to bring to the table, I think would be helpful. But I think for this, it's perfect.
I think for this, like, it's the intelligence matrix is like meaningful. Like it's a meaningful add-on to this.
It's the whole thing. Yeah. So and we'll get to that and tell you.
We'll get there.
So one of the things I really, really love throughout the entire book, and it kind of hits you right off the bat on the index page here, is this kind of like 3-column layout style through most of the book, where not everything is written in 3 columns, because sometimes one is like 1 column and then words take up 2 of those columns or something like that. I love that style of layout. It's been going around a little bit more, and it's really clean and really nice to look at, and it's a really great way to put art and reference and things on the page without breaking up the page. We'll see that as we go farther in. But right off the bat here too, we also have a couple of 2-page spreads of art.
Yeah. Very cool art pieces.
They're really great, and I'm flipping through the original one, and those are things that are not in the original one. So when you look at the original Fist, outside of a couple of the diagrams, there's really like literally 0 art. I think there might be like one, like, looks like maybe 3 diagrams in the entire thing, 4 or 5. But this one actually, at the top of the players section, the referee section, and the supply section, is a full 2-page spread of art, and there's some other throughout. Great addition to the book without changing the vibe at all. It definitely like elevates it, and the style is really fantastic too. It's a very kind of like heavy comic book style.
Yeah.
So
dark and gritty comic book style.
So dark and gritty, and it's like it's really fantastic. And I don't know what it is, but I will never not love when the header of a section is sideways along the side of a page. Something about it just makes my brain happy. So the player section is written sideways, taking the whole page. So good. So getting into it, really, like we said, I mean, we'll kind of deep dive like these the 9 pages of the rules, and then just go over a bit of the rest of it. But the layout in the index continues through here. There is the one column on the left that says getting started, and it's pretty empty, and then the double to 1 column on the right that says what do you need to play the game, the rule book, some people that you trust, some 6-sided dice, copies of character sheets, stuff like that. Play as a conversation. This is a great thing to read. One of the things I do really love about the way this whole book is written too is there's a lot of direction without saying like this is exactly how you have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not hand-holdy, it's just like here's some good rules of thumb, but
Right. So like even the concept of like play as a conversation, the little thing here, I'm not going to read it, but it's a really great, like, it actually tells you what that means and how to do it well. And the fact that it is a 2d6 mixed success system, like, can be difficult for some people. And I think they do a really fantastic job all the way through of giving you the tools to not be overwhelmed when you start a system like that.
Yeah, totally. And if you ever need notes for running a partial success on 2d6 in this system.
Patchwork
there are
World.
Tables for that in the back. So
there's the tables are fantastic. So
they really are very good. So
another diagram here, another blown out diagram. These are just so fucking like the vibes of this whole thing are just so perfect. You know what it reminds me of, kind of in like a very kind of like adjacent way, is Death in Space a bit. You know how they do those very kind of like vector spaceship things.
Yeah,
something about it just, it tickles the brain in a good way. So creating a character, I think realistically we should just do this.
Yeah,
because it's so simple.
So I actually have the form fillable character sheet that you can get if you purchase the game on itch. I'm sure other ways, but there's that way too. Open somewhere on my computer. Here it is.
And I have a sticky note. I mean, I also have that, but I'm not going to do that because I got all of this going on. Okay. So creating a character, again, I can't get over the layout enough, and this is exactly why. So this page, the page above it, the only thing in that left column was getting started. But on this page, it shows why that layout is so great. So this is making mercs. It's laid out the same way, but there's an art piece in the top, and then there's a black box on the left that has the some information that the two columns on the right like tells you, hey, you might need standard issue items. Oh, that whole column on the left, here you go, standard issue items. It's also in a black box, which makes it immediately eye-catching and great for the layout.
We were actually talking about that a couple weeks ago on something else that was just like black on white, and the boxes were also black on white. Having just like the inverse for a box that's off to the side be a black background with white text, you're like, oh, cool, I see it, you know?
It works so well. And not only that, and I know this is a really small thing, but more people on layout should do this. And when we were going over the zines on episode 100, hey, 101, buddy, this black bar across the bottom that has the section that you're in on the side, and then a footer bar, and then the page number on it, that black bar by itself does so much to break up any kind of walls of text across pages, especially when you're reading in PDF. It makes your brain kind of, it's almost like a little palate cleanser between pages, so your brain can kind of break it up a little bit. So it's nice. Anyway, creating a character. You belong to a legendary rogue mercenary unit called Fist. You are a soldier of fortune who doesn't fit into mainstream society. You are one of the little guys caught up in the death and destruction and pointless proxy wars. You may also be someone who can turn into a ghost or control bees with your mind. The paranormal secrets of the Cold War are your bread and butter, and you fight alongside people like you. So there's an explanation of traits, right? Traits are the building blocks of Fist. Each trait grants you 3 things: a special skill or benefit, an item for your inventory, like weapon or tool, and a modification for your stats, like attributes or HP. You pick a handful of traits in the beginning. When your character advances, you can, choose to take another one. And it's like adding another brick to who you are, making you more complex and more powerful. So there's 5 steps to making a character, to making a merc.
We love a numbered step list for making a character. It's funny. It's something we point out every time we see it. We're like, yeah, give me a list. Just make it easy, you know?
Seriously. And the fact that every one of these sections has like procure a character sheet, page 152, as Claymore has already said, that those, hopefully the inline ones, will be hyperlinked because there's a lot of references, because a lot of, again, what players need is only 9 pages long, so you don't really need to reference that a ton. But the back and forth to the index and roles and things like that, having those numbers readily available of where to go is fantastic. But in the PDF hyperlinking, it would be great as well. Also in the layout, great use of font, like capitals, bolds, not too much, only the important stuff that you need. Like it's again just like well formatted the entire way through to make it very, very readable. So get a character sheet. Found on your character sheet are your character's attributes. There are 4: forceful, tactical, creative, and reflexive. An attribute represents a character's skill level. For a challenge, higher means higher chance of success. You choose 2 attributes from the trait index or roll 2d666. Record your chosen traits on your character sheet. Keep the traits index on hand for reference. So why don't we just go ahead and each roll 2d666? And for those that don't know what D666 means, it does not mean go to a generator and type in D666. You do a 6, a 6, and a 6. add the 3 together, and then you so basically roll 3d6 and then read them from left to right as if it was a 3-digit number. So
which means that I think there's 216 options.
Is that it?
I think that's how many that is, because I think it's 6 to the 6th or to the third power.
You lost me already.
Math.
My brain, that broke my brain.
There's a shit ton of traits. Very massive amount of traits.
Cool. I'm sure that Claymore, it's 216.
It's 216. Boom. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I'll bet you they're gonna tell us in just a moment. All right, so
I'd be out here doing math. You know?
Yeah, I'd be not doing that. So what did you roll for your 2d666?
So my first one is 332.
Okay.
My second one's 241. So let me see what that is.
Okay. So I'm gonna scroll, for those in podcast land, I'm gonna scroll past a lot of stuff, and we're gonna go. Actually, why don't I just hit the bookmarks? We'll just go to the trait index. So glad that it's gonna be hyperlinked later. Referee section, playing fair, mission making.
It's supplies.
Yep. Trade index. Boom. There we go. Okay. So, what
did I say?
What was your first?
I've already forgotten. 332.
Okay.
I'm actually already almost there. Excuse me if you're listening also, because I have the hiccups. My first one, icebreaker.
Oh.
You know how to get the party started. When you land the first strike in a fight, gain a war die and deal double damage. Take double damage whenever you are struck by an unexpected attack. I start with a tactical battle axe. That's 1d6 plus 1 damage, and I gain +2 forceful.
Dope. That's nice to get those bonuses. I will say that like most damage in the game is pretty much d6 with maybe a modifier, like across the board for pretty much everything, which is cool. And then what was your second one?
Was 241.
Oh, 241. Okay. All right. So field.
There we go. I'm actually writing this down on the character sheet right now. What's my second one, Ryan? Read it to me. Sorry, I'm still writing.
So once per mission, you may project a bubble of solid psionic force 10 feet in diameter, which is centered on you and provides anyone inside 3 armor against outside attacks. If you roll the dice plus creative, you may attempt to fashion the field into a different shape. Failing this roll or getting hurt while projecting the field immediately dissipates it. You get a paint gun, which clearly marks a surface or area, and then +2 forceful. Bro, did you really get +4 forceful right off the bat?
I'm very forceful. So... Bro. I'm a forceful to be reckoned with, you know?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. You're a force to be reckoned with. Look at that. Look at us. All right. So I got 513 and 355. So 513 runner. You possess ultra human speed. So that's dope. All right. Once per mission, you may outpace someone or something. If it's something really fast, like a hunting cheetah or a flying bullet, there will be a complication from overexertion. The referee will tell you what. I get experimental indestructible sneakers with +1 reflex.
Nice. Indestructible
Reflexive.
Sneakers.
Bro. And then I got 355. Lush. All right. You prefer to fight at least half in the bag. When you have some free time, you can tip back your liquor bottle and take +2 to your next forceful roll. So I get a 1-use liquor bottle, and I get +1 war die per mission. That's when we get to war die. First of all, that's dope. So
war die are great.
I'm a lush runner. You know. Just call me Prefontaine.
Fast and
baby.
drunk, you know?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Barry Allen after, yeah.
No, that's it. So that is really how you start, and what really makes up a lot of the games is those traits, and that's why there's like, what, 40 pages of them?
Yeah. And they're like
26.
I love the teleporter. I like the wizard.
Obviously. Wait a second. Wait a second. Hunter. You like the wizard?
Well, real quick, let's read it. Can we read it on stream?
Obviously.
We're here.
Obviously, yeah. What number is it?
It's towards the end. Let me find it real quick. I mean, I think it's like, oh yeah, it's 665. I have the hiccups. I apologize to everyone who has listened to me hiccup, but God, I cannot make it stop.
Well, 665. All right. Damn, that's a long one.
It's it's the very last. So, Wizard, you are an arrogant meddler in the arcane otherworld, and many mischievous sorceries have taken up residence in your head. Once permission, you may roll 1d6, gesture wildly, and unleash a torrent of magic upon any target. You want to roll a d6 for me real quick?
Sure. 1.
Caster becomes a small animal for 30 minutes.
Dope.
And now also we have misaimed fireball, which deals 2d6 damage to anyone in the way. Target enters cadaverous but reversible sleep. Yeah, they're all 6.
Target and caster both disintegrate? Yeah.
Target and caster both disintegrate. You may spend 1 ward die to reroll the result and spend 1 more to reroll as many times as you like. If you advance, you can replace one of the D6 results with a new spell you and the ref agree upon instead of taking the usual advancement reward. The azure bolts from your magic missile launcher are, ontologically, guaranteed to always hit someone, though not necessarily the intended target. You start with a magic missile launcher, 1d6 plus 2 creative.
I love that cracks me. So it's not magic missile.
No, it's magic missile launcher.
It's a war game. It still always hits, but yeah, magic missile launcher. That cracks me up. That's a great one. And it goes all the way to 666, which is great. 666 is Xeno, which is an alien. I kind of wish 666 was like a demon or something. You know what I mean? Like just the devil. But it is alphabetized, so you get what you get. And what's great is on the end of page 666 is the end of the D666 table, and it is listed in numerical and alphabetical order, like an index of this index at the end, which is really fantastic. If they hyperlink that, which I think would be great, that would
be a lot. That's a
lot. That's 260 hyperlinks for a very tiny space. Yeah, but listen, all I'm saying is
cool. This whole section's cool because you can look at it and be like, you know what? I haven't come across Puppet Master, and I just read it on here, and so now I'm like, okay, 454. What's Puppet Master? You know.
Well, the thing is, you can roll or you can choose. So it's nice to have all of it in one big list, because undead would be dope. Obviously, vampire would be dope. Obviously, you picked wizard and I picked undead vampire. So that tells you something about us. I think that our fist game would get very weird. So index the traits are fantastic. It is a huge part of the game. Again, the rules aren't super big, but the traits are, and they're well written. They're extremely, they're all over the place in a very good way. You can really flavor the entire campaign that you're in based on the traits that your character picks.
And you could, absolutely. It's funny. I mean, really, we already said this, but you could really run this game as just a straightforward espionage spy, or a vampire, a zombie, and a failed wizard. Our members of an elite tactical unit.
Because you could realistically, as a person making the game, just make pre-gens really. Based around the campaign that you want to run, if your players are down for that, to literally we're you could, what would be fun as fuck is a Helsing campaign in this.
Okay, I could see that.
Because the Helsing were basically exactly this, like a small group of operatives that everyone fucking hates, that the government doesn't really want but uses. You know what I mean? Anyway, so that was number 2 of 5. Number 3 is fill out your attributes, inventory, armor, HP, and war dice. All of your attributes start at 0. Calculate what they are after picking 2 traits and write them down. So my total traits are +1 to reflexive, and you got +4 to forceful, and that's
+4 to forceful. So
damn, son.
That's that means pretty much if I roll forceful like the majority of the time it's going to be an actual success.
Yeah, well, yeah, +3 on a 2d6 gives you a 75% chance of like a complete success. That's crazy. So then you fill out your inventory with any items your traits gave you. You can always carry as many items as you want, but you can only equip one weapon at a time. Unarmored and non-weapon attacks deal the worst of 2d6 damage, which is great. All characters start with 0 armor. You can only wear one body-sized piece of armor at a time, but there's no limit on accessories. Page 83. All characters start with 6 max HP. HP stands for hit points and represents how much damage you can take. And all characters start with 0 war dice. War dice represent grit, spirit, and luck. All of those. It's just a thing. You can spend a war die to add 1d6 whenever anyone rolls the dice, including damage rolls, referee rolls, encounters, etc. And war dice are consumable. When you use a war dice, it's gone. And then you get to start by taking a standard issue item, or plus 1d6 max HP, or plus 1d6 war dice to start with your character. And as we said, on the left here is the list of standard issue items right off the bat. Roll 1d6 or choose between a baklava or a baklava. Listen, if you get a great dessert right off the bat.
Let me tell you, I'm taking baklava. If that's the option, I'm gonna heat up the oven right now, you know?
Dude. It's a balaclava, which hides your identity, or a flashlight, which can be used as a weapon attachment, a knife, which does 1d6 damage, an MRE field ration, which does 1d6 HP healing, one use, a pistol, which does 1d6 damage, or a riot shield, which is 1 armor and is equipped as a weapon. So don't forget, you only get to carry 1 weapon. If you carry a riot shield, that's your weapon. So that gives it to you right off the bat there. Number 4, you choose a roll from the rolls index, or roll D66 starting on page 67. Your roll is something your character always wants to do, and doing it lets them advance. When we get to advancement, I fucking love that. That's such a good way to advance. But you can choose a roll. You can't choose a roll somebody already has. All right, so let's jump straight to rolls on page 67. I'm going to roll a D66, which is, once again, it's 2D6, and you just add the two together. I got a 12. What did you get?
I got a 21, actually, the inverse of yours.
Yes, you
Perfect.
did.
I got mine. I am a cultist, so I have to describe the esoteric religious sect to which you belong and the chilling prophecy in which you believe. Advance if you drafted someone of significant importance or power into your cult, or if you turned the cosmic clock closer to your hallowed day of reckoning.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. Mine is amnesiac. Describe the most recent event you remember, like waking up in a vat a week ago, or learning your name from unfamiliar wallet in your coat. Advance if your understanding of yourself or the world changes dramatically over the course of the mission. So a little bit of mental action going on. So I am a fast amnesiac lush. And what were your traits and roll?
Yeah, so I am a cultist that is able to project a psionic field. And I'm really, really good at hitting first in combat. Okay,
well, that all works. That's a great thing. When you know this many tables are gonna give you something interesting, I like that. I rolled up a bunch of characters, and there's very few that I was like, you know what, those two just would make it really difficult to play. Almost everyone has just been like, oh yeah, I could fucking run with that, you know?
I like the weird combinations. Like, you know, I'm like, this is like, okay, cool. Like, fuck yeah, there's some, like, I don't know. This game is cool. I really, really like character traits and how it's handled and how many options there are. Like, I mean, seriously, like, imagine 2 people playing the same character in this game. You'd be like, why? You know, like,
and literally, I think it's something like 25,000 options or something. Some insane amount. And the number 5 is just choose a code name. You pick a code name and I love this too. You pick a code name for yourself that fits who you are and what to do, but you also pick a real name, and you don't tell that to anyone, not even the ref, until the perfect dramatic opportunity occurs. So I honestly find picking a name is one of the hardest things ever for me. Like, I will literally take days to start a video game if they make me pick a name.
Oh, really? I'm like, what's the
Piece of shit.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
I pick some edgelord name and just see what it is in Latin. That's like 90% of the names I've ever played.
I was thinking of, because I put up a force field, so I was thinking of like Overwatch characters that put up force field. Not that I play Overwatch, because I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
But like Reinhardt, that's my character.
There you go. Yeah, I can't do Overwatch. I guess I'm too old for it. It's too visually chaotic for me. I don't like it, and I hate the art style. But if you like it, I'm happy for you. So for those out there listening, I'm glad that you do. If you do, I don't know what I don't know who's a famous amnesic fast. I said Prefontaine earlier, so I'll just say my name was Fontaine. Okay.
Who's lost their memory in pop culture TV or
Born.
something?
It would be Born. I mean, that's literally like
yeah. I mean, for this game too, it's like you're Born.
But I'm a drunk runner. That's not quite Born. I'll go with Fontaine.
Hey, he can be both those things.
He could be. He could. I do love the 4 characters that they did use here, especially Whiplash.
They're great examples.
Great. And I love the switch off to a different font style, which looks very like typewriter. So it feels like these are almost more like so for example, let's look through one real quick, and then we'll probably go through 2 because I have to go through 1. So 0, it seems like a very classic one. So they have 6 max HP. They're a crusader, which means they kill the right people for the right reasons. Stats wise, they have 1 armor, +1 to forceful, 0 war dice, 0 tactical, 0 reflexive, 0 creative. So it tells you right off the bat, like your starting characters are very low HP and very low stats, which I love. And again, it's a 2d6 system, so really stats are all going to fall between 0 and 3, or negatives. The traits are Interrogate and Veteran. The inventory is an M16 assault rifle, which it does 1d6 plus 1 damage. A K-bar combat rifle, which is combat knife, which is 1d6 damage. I love again that the weapons are all basically the same damage amount, so they really doesn't make a difference. Deadly is deadly. That's just how it works. And I don't like games that give me 2 things. One is a massive, huge fucking list of the prices of everything. I don't care. And 2 is 10 different dice to do weapon damage. Like a pocket knife can kill you just like a fucking M16 can kill you. Obviously one a little bit more than the other, but at the end of the day, like, I prefer this style where the damage is roughly the same and it's what you're doing that is more important, especially in gaming. So 0 was an up-and-coming U.S. Army corporal who defected when his superiors ordered him to execute POWs in Vietnam. After escaping to the Hanoi Underground and whiling away a few years doing odd jobs and dodging CIA, they joined FIST. And I love that each one has like this interview transcript that really sets you in the mood. And having that little like 2-3 lines of interview transcript as your whole background to me is genius. I really love that. This one's it's a Zippo flicking open, long inhale. There's no place for men like us in the world. We are soldiers, killers, instruments of war. When I wouldn't kill for them, they didn't want me anymore. But killing is all I know. Contemplative pause.
Pause.
I refuse to be the pawn of some nation. What a sick joke. Good men don't follow orders. They use their heads. Click, like audio ends. That's it's so great. But the other ones here, you got Splice, who is a punk who wants to smash the Anglo-European establishment, who's a duelist mutant. You got Gate, who is a healer, whose food is medicine, a family physician. The traits are chef and summon, so they have 2 spirits they can summon. They have a meat cleaver and a box of tea lights. But Whiplash is great. They're a wild card who drives fast cars and lives for cheap thrills. They're an ace and a Xeno. Right, so they're a fucking alien, and this is what's great. I love this, so I have to read it to you because it's so great. Whiplash claims to be on their 2nd excursion to Earth, with their first beginning roughly around the year 0, after their holographic human disguise failed and some all-in-good fun preaching to ancient Romans went awry. Whiplash took a long vacation avoiding Earth until the mid-60s. The transcript says, I told them I was the second coming. They said, no, you're a bum and you're crazy. I told them, well, you sound just like Pontius did. They didn't like that, tried to put me in an institution, so I'm done with preaching. I race cars now. You got any water? Damn, a cheap Merlot. I must be off my game today. So Whiplash is just Alien who was actually Jesus, and I love that so much. It makes me tickle inside. So then we get to rolling the dice, and we're halfway through the rules already. So I gotta say, our two favorite systems here, obviously, if you've listened, Hunter is a D20 roll under, great system, best D20 system. Yeah, my favorite is 2d6 mixed success, and oh my god, is this good! Like, couldn't love this anymore. So again, there is the same kind of 3-stage layout. There is a graphic of a rocket ship, and then there is a box in the bottom left. So rolling the dice, when you do something risky and the outcome is uncertain, you roll the dice. And that is one of my favorite lines in all of tabletop role-playing games. I would get that tattooed on my fucking body. Like, so there's only really, what does it say, like 2 steps to how shit happens. You choose an attribute and you roll the dice. Yeah. So the referee will ask you. That's it. The referee will ask you which attribute you're using, or they might decide for you. Forceful is displays of strength, like kicking indoors and using powerful weapons. Tactical is for applications of logic, like maintaining a disguise, hacking a database. Creative expressions of will, like persuasive speeches, off-the-cuff bluffing or psychic manipulation. And then reflexive is feats of agility, like dodging bullets and using light, precise weapons. So I have +1 reflexive, you have +1 forceful. But you would roll creative if you wanted to turn the bubble into something, right?
Right. Yeah.
So +0s. And then you roll the dice. You roll 2d6, add them together, add the attribute you're using, and you can also add a war die to any roll to change the result. The total determines your degree of success. No matter what happens, the referee always narrates how the fictional situation changes. It never stays the same. Nothing never happens.
That is a really great, like, mentality that's really instilled in you, and like the 2d6 partial success is like nothing never happens. Like we see that a lot with 2d6. I'm like, and that's my favorite thing about it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good reminder all the time for anything. It's like, yeah, things move, you know? Yeah. It fail forward. And one thing, like that's an easy thing to say, but I really love when the system allows you to do it, so it's never lost, you know? Yeah. That's why realistically with like any D20 system we play, no matter what it is, I would try to think of a way to put in something like Himbos from Max, like that degree of success thing on the D20. Yeah. If you haven't read Himbos of Myth and Metal, go watch our episode and then go buy it from Max Lender. Himbos is fantastic. So 6 or below, you fail. You don't do what you wanted to do and things go wrong. 7 and 9 is a partial success. You do what you wanted, but with a cost, compromise, or complication. I like that it says compromise in there, which is really nice. And then 10 or above is a success. You do exactly what you wanted. And then double 6s is an ultra success. You do exactly what you wanted and some spectacular bonuses. Referee-controlled characters don't have to roll the dice to do something. The referee just narrates it. I also like that. Why make them roll? Just make them decide if you want to do it or not. I like the compromise thing as well, because it's just like, okay, hey, like, what if I do this, but this happens? You're like, okay, yeah. You know, like, it gives the players a little more ownership over, like, what is happening in the narrative as well. Yeah, I mean, the compromise and the complications, especially when you get to the referee section, they cover this really well in the book. And it really, even though I've run a lot of 2d6, it was still really helpful. We'll get to it later, but it says something about like, this shit happens all the time. Like when you say like, oh, like if I miss this light, I'm going to be 5 minutes late to work. Like that is a failed roll with a complication. You know what I mean? Like it's that easy. That shit happens all the time. So do you want to take over like rules of engagement, emergency insertion, all that stuff? It proves like combat is, it's the same as doing anything else risky. You roll a dice to attack. And you deal damage listed under your weapon. If you succeed, deal damage if you succeed. Yeah, right. If you're being attacked, you roll to avoid, which I love. It's all players. I also thought it was interesting because, like, a lot of times with the 2d6 system, we see like if you fail, that's when the enemy attacks But like, if you're being attacked, you roll to avoid, counter, etc. Rolling a failure in active combat always incurs damage. If you take damage, subtract it from your HP. Armor is damage token this. So if you have like 1 point armor, it's going to lower the damage you receive directly by 1. HP is precious. You have like 6 HP, and most things do 1d6 or more damage. So it's like a gun will kill you in this game. So like, stealth, guerrilla warfare, and creative thinking are necessary for survival. If your HP drops to 0, you're dead. There are no saving throws in war, my friend. Log your death somewhere the whole table can see. A character graveyard, great idea to have on a table for this regularly. And you make a new merc and prepare for emergency insertion. Something emergency insertion. You know what I mean?
I do that line there are no saving throws in war. That could be like a fight. That's our first adventure. Like, that's the name right there. That's the fucking tagline. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So moving on. I was looking for the emergency insertion table, which is actually up on page 2, but I think it references that in a second. So continuing forward, on emergency insertion, dying in the middle of a mission does not mean you'd sit back and watch. Basically, you're gonna get like helicopter dropped in, or you're gonna use an experimental teleporter, or you're like a sleeper agent. Very cool. You wait for the referee to clear you for entry, and then you're gonna roll on the emergency insertion table. It's on page 2 to jump in. Be aware that you may face complications while attempting to join your team, which I love this because so often they're just like, your character just comes back in, but like, and I like that, fine. But like, I need a little more, and I think this is what I'm looking for: the complications on entry, right? So, Ryan, why don't you let's just read all of them? It's a pretty short list. If your character dies, create a fresh character while play continues. When you're ready to deploy into the fray, roll 2d6. 6 or less, deployment goes wrong somehow. 7 and 9, deploy normally. 10 or above, deploy with an extra standard issue item. Double 6s, as above, and add +3 to your first roll.
Dope.
Very cool.
So good. So, like, should be used in so many more. You can adapt that to any style of system.
Be. Like, I think I might home rule some stuff for some other games I play where it's like, you come back immediately. Like, I might give you something to like crunch on when you make entry, you know?
Well, nothing ever not happens, right? So you just pop in and suddenly you're there. Like, no, like make something happen as part of that. Like, give a little bit more. So I love that.
And this has that like very gonzo satirical action movie, campy, to where like, coming guns blazing, or like, it really lends itself to that being very usable in this.
Well, the success or failure is fantastic because you could just like pop out of fucking nowhere and just like take out like 6 dudes in one thing, and people be like, who the fuck is this guy? Or vice versa, you come flying in and your fucking parachute gets stuck in a tree, you end up upside down, you drop your weapon. Either way, fucking dope, and that could come from that table. So really cool.
I just really imagine great. Just like, Snake Driscoll or whatever his name is from Escape from New York or Escape from LA, whichever one you watch. But it's like you're in a gunfight or somebody has your gunpoint and just slams his head into the wall. It's like, I'm Snake. Dude, there's such this is what I think of when I'm reading this game. I'm like, dude, there's so many good times to be had running this.
Oh god, dude, an Escape from New York, even this would be sick.
Okay, so rendezvous signals. So once per mission, this is pretty much like your mid-mission rest, right? Mm-hmm. So you can the team can agree to send out a rendezvous signal, and then upon the signal's activation, the referee basically just describes a nearby safe point, like a janitor closet, abandoned building, and the obstacles to reach that spot. As long as the players remain within that rendezvous point, which is typically out of the way, easily defensible. I cannot read today, even though I've already read this like 4 times. And stock with common supplies. Each player at that point can pick one of the following bonuses to take, which is either recover 1d6 HP, refill 1 limited use item. So Ryan, your alcohol for your character.
Yep.
Receive one useful fact about the mission from the referee, which is a great one.
Yeah, that one, those three are really great. Anytime that you can instill more choices into your game by design, that's one of the things that I love so much about this system. Although it's a 2d6 mixed system, which one of the things I like most about that is the constant choice and all that kind of stuff. There are so many things that are just like plugged into this for options and choice and interesting things that aren't just like extras or bonuses. It's additions to the system itself that creates this constant, because like you really have to decide, I only have 2 HP left, but we have no idea what the fuck's going on. Do I want intel? Do I want more bullets? Do I want to get some HP back? Like, what the fuck are we doing? You know, we
have no idea what's going on, but I'm out of my limited use item that I really kind of need for my build, you know? Like, I mean, there is a lot of, instead of just being like, you appear back, or you go to your rest spot and you rest, it's like, no, sorry, like there's a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more. And like, I don't want like Lancer, the mercenary game. You know what I mean? Like, but like, this is a cool way to add on to the system that doesn't feel heavy. I'm not weighed down by these choices. Instead, they make everything a little bit more meaningful.
That's one of the things I think that this game does. I think if I had to pick one thing that I love the most about it is this book could be this thick of just rules. It really could be, because for a tactical mercenary like recon game, like it could be so fucking crunchy and whatever, but the way that a lot of the tactics and everything are abstracted is so well done to still make you think tactically, but without being bogged down by a bunch of bullshit. You know? So
tactical Infinity. For any reason,
basically what I just said.
What?
I feel like that's basically what I just said. But anyway, what is Tactical Infinity?
For any reason, anytime, you can try any tactic to solve any problem. I mean, it's what we were just talking about. Like the abstraction of like tactical choices. The ideas and mechanics which comprise this game are there to provide support and context for what tactics you consider and which ones will work. But you're not limited by them. This is the beauty of a TTRPG. Their infinite possibility space. For this reason, much of Fist is written with the assumption that the rules are incomplete. They cannot realistically cover every fictional situation which could occur in the world your table creates. Remember, you can always think outside the box. But I mean, it's exactly what we were just talking about.
Really great. I think the next section, this technical jargon section, I think it's great. I think it's really a good thing to have here.
Super great for someone, you know.
It's great. I mean, it's good to have at all, because some people might not know. But like, here's the thing: is we've seen all of these already. Yeah, we've seen all of these already. It might have been better suited to be higher up. You know, like we've already seen the attributes. We've already seen D666. You know what I mean?
Maybe
like if you're gonna
closer to where, like, how to use this book or whatever. You know.
Yeah, I think the technical jargon section, I mean, there's always this weird kind of mix of like, you want to get right into like the vibe, but like on the getting started page, like technical jargon could be right there. I love the graphic here. But if you're going to have immediately say like what you need, it might be not a bad idea to also say like what words you might not know or abbreviations you might not know.
I can definitely see that.
Because we're basically at the end of the player section before it tells us.
Not a major complaint for me, but I do see it.
It just could be up a little bit higher.
It could be. Oh, it could be? Oh, yeah, you sure?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. You know. And then we're kind of, I mean, that's characters. I mean, that's like the whole thing, and that's the combat. I mean, there's the playing dirty section, which really is like a note on lethality. It says that everyone's got ultra human skills and abilities and experience, but you're not immune. Like, you can fucking die. Like, like, you could start with like literally 1 HP. Like, it's a D6 HP. You can start with 1. What character did you make that only had 2? Was it when we did Black Sword Hack? Did you only have like? No, it was in Cyborg, wasn't it? Didn't you roll to have like 2 HP for a whole Cyborg mission?
I did. Yeah. You're like, when we played Cyborg, I just never got in combat. I was just like, that's fine. You guys got it. I'm going to go over here. Yeah. So
And I love one of the other things I love about 2d6 is that very narrow stat window, so that like even 1 point can be super meaningful, and usually the HP is super low. So like literally anything you do, you could start with 4 HP and one person could stab you with a knife and you're dead because it's 1d6. Like, yeah. I love how deadly it is.
I mean, I really don't want the mercenary game where I'm a bullet sponge. Like, this is exactly, I'm like, you could live through a shot, but you're probably not living through 2.
Right? What? Yeah. Perfect. Another tagline for the game.
Yeah, you could live through a shot, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's so good.
I mean, it's exactly the level of like lethality I want in something like this.
Yep. It's the anti-5e. It's like you're not the hero. You know what I mean?
I mean, the funnest part of 5e is like the first 3 levels. So
yeah, when it's actually deadly, kind of. Except it's balanced too. Anyway, so it goes into the mercenary mindset, which I like. It really talks about you're encouraged to lie, cheat, and steal.
Yeah,
but
you're Merc. You're a piece of shit, Merc.
But by lying and cheating and stealing, it means like not be a bad player. It just means make the game unfair, like in your favor. Yeah. Like the kind of like OSR aspect of like, so by lying, it says a false identity or tossing a rock against something to make them look and then run the other way. And by cheating, it means sabotaging a vehicle or spinning a war die on your attack. Stealing can be euphemized as on-site procurement. You're not limited to standard issue trait items. No. And I love that also that this rule here, if you carry an item to the end of a mission, it persists into the next mission. So if you rent the dust cake thermal goggles from an undead Navy SEAL and keep them for yourself, you can. So, and the way that all your items and stuff work is like, if you get to the end of the mission, there's no money in this. They give you what you need. You're a merc organization. Like whoever hired you gives you what you need.
Dude, so, I do like that. Think of that merc that makes it through a few missions though, like some like weird ones too, and like has like a weird kit. It's like, yeah, I have an amulet that like can show me like dead people's thoughts. It's like because I'm playing this as like some weird horror shooter kind of like you're fighting Nazi cultists and shit.
Yeah, I mean you are a cultist.
Yeah.
What was your guy's name?
Reinhard.
Reinhard, that's right.
It's from Overwatch, not.
Yeah. Section here on strength and numbers. Basically, some referee-controlled characters may offer insider information in exchange for protection. Others may join you in a battle, even if a character has nothing to offer you. Fist is a conversation game, and talking is always a free action. Feel free to stop a fight and challenge your enemy's ideology, or take a breather to map out an infiltration strategy with your fellow players. Nice. Coordinating with your teammates can give you a tactical edge. So I like that the game also really leans into that, like your character knows what you know, or you know what your character knows, kind of, you know what I mean? It's not like you have to play dumb, or like you can't stop in combat and talk. Like it's not about
no, this is a cinematic experience,
Yeah.
Also, I love that you can play Naruto in this, and you can use talk no jutsu on your enemy. And it's like, listen, what you're doing is wrong. You'll never free yourself from the cycle of violence this way.
Let me tell you how people didn't like me when I was a kid. For the
when I was a kid, everyone rejected me, but I'll be motherfucking Hokage one day.
Yeah, leave it. Ongoing games. There's a section here on mission structure. So the Fist campaigns are framed as a series of missions which usually last a single play session. So it's what you think it would be. Like it's mostly one shots that can sometimes have an overarching plot and sometimes lead into a grand conspiracy. They don't have to, and they don't always have to be. It's very like, I don't know, like I love Cowboy Bebop, and I understand why people bounce off the first half because it's very like episodic because it's episodes. Yeah. but then you hit the last half and it's like an arc, and that's kind of how I feel like this would be. You can have like some episodic stuff to build individual characters, get a little bit stronger, develop yourself a little bit, and then hit an arc. I think that'd be fucking perfect.
And there's just jazz music in the background the whole time.
The whole time. I think Cowboy Bebop soundtrack is what I hear when I think of this. Player characters start each mission at full HP with all limited use items refilled and any lost trait granted or standard issue items replaced or returned. Any other items carry over between missions but are lost if left behind, except war dice are not refilled. Paid jobs are just a framing device. Don't worry about supply cost. And then advancement, global politics, and anti-canon before an example of play. And that's really it for the rules of the game. So advancement, characters advance when they act according to their role. For instance, a crusader advances if they behaved ethically during the course of a mission. If you feel you've reached natural closure for your role, you can choose a new one between missions. If a player advances, they can choose one reward. Again, choice in the mechanics.
Yeah.
You can get one, you can pick a new trait. 2, you can take 1d6 max HP, or add 1d6 max HP, or you get plus 1d6 war dice. So that's awesome.
It is a really cool like way to handle it. I like the character roles, and I like the if you're like this role is coming to a close or you want to change it, just make a new one. And I think the next paragraph is where it talks about like encouraging them to narrate how they get to this new role in between missions, and it's like very cool. Love that.
Well, and advancement in general has really nothing to do with like I do like advancement styles like Death in Space, for example, that like they ask questions at the end, like did you do this, did you do that? Like I love those. This is another cool way to have like what you actually do matter, and it's literally like, okay, you're a crusader, you have to act ethically, or like you're a wild card, did you do some crazy bullshit? And if you did, you get to advance your character, because that's actually you advancing your character, like you're developing your character. So be more of that. So it's really, really cool. There's a whole section here on global politics, which basically says like they all don't like you. You're not part of them. Like it doesn't matter if sometimes you might help, MI6, or sometimes you might help the CIA. They don't like you. You're not one of them. You're not part of the military industrial complex. Nah, nobody. And then the section here on anti-canon, which is great. There is no one correct fist game world, and if there was, it certainly wouldn't be locked up in the back room at Claymore. Many sections in this book state or imply certain things about the setting, but these are provided as tools and seasonings, not hard truths. The world you create at your table through roleplay when you say, this is worse than the Budapest job, or, I helped JFK slay a vampire, or my character's from Mars is more real than anything in this book. I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. Like, it's a lot of implied setting without giving you any setting.
God, I want to play. Really... I want to play in the world with the. I help JFK slay a vampire.
That's what presidents do. Like Abraham Lincoln was slaying vampires. Why didn't JFK?
That's very true. We all know that's factually correct. In history books. So.
Yep. I saw the movie of the real history based on a true story.
Based on a true story, yeah.
There's a 2-page example play here, which is fantastic.
It's really good. Yeah.
And B, it's so well written. Like,
yeah. It was fun to read. Like, there's a lot of examples of play. I feel like there's a good amount of examples of play in this, and I like it. They're fun to read. It's cool to see how it's laid out in the mind of the creator. Yeah.
And like, it's always good to have an example of play, but for the most part, I think most of the examples of plays that we have read have been good. But there's times where like, here's the thing about examples of plays. They should actually be an example of play. Like they should talk about edge cases or things that happen or tell you how advantage works or whatever as you go through it. And we've read some where it's really like, it's just some people doing stuff and you're like, but that still doesn't tell me how I do this other thing. I feel like this one walks you through, because it even walks you, even though it's the words of the referee says things like, what do I do there? Oh, I should do this. I can reference it on this page. Like it's really well done. And not only that, the format changes. So this is now back in like that typewriter font, and it's got like Intel file numbers that are redacted at the top.
Like a activity report. Yeah.
It says transcript, example play, internal circulation only. Like the whole book. One thing we talked about at the beginning is like it is, and we were kind of hitting hard on like the black text on white font during episode 100 during the zines, but like this book feels like a manual, and so I like the vibe of it.
It feels like an active choice and not just like the default. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And as we said before, like even when you just have like black and white like this, layout then can play a huge part in what you're doing. And the layout of this book is fantastic. Those triple columns, like these variations in font for different vibes, it's so great. Another 2-page spread here. It says concept art. So this is the 4 characters. This is the Whiplash and the Punk and all this kind of stuff here. Zero.
They're only a pretty good amount of art in the next like 4 pages. It's like,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So there's the concept art at the end, and then this like 2-page spread for the referee spread right at the beginning of this one. I love this one here where it's like it looks like a character behind the character, this like gas mask character at the bottom of the page, the referee page. Really, really fantastic. So I don't think we're gonna dig too deep into the referee section. I think there might be parts that we want to hit.
This is a good referee section.
Oh, it's so good, like really good.
Like, we don't really go through them on the show, and I mean we're not gonna deep dive this now, but like I read them fairly often. Maybe not by the time we've done the show, but at least usually right afterwards. And I think this is probably up there for one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
So, and I have a really good idea of how to run this game and like what to do with it after this, and then the Matrix that will go on after this.
Oh yeah. But I mean, this gives you even more than that, because even here, it's like there's this whole page here that's like the theories of role-playing games, and this one talks about in their opinion, 3 of the pillars are trust, chance, and rules, and that's what makes up the game is really like trusting your players and them trusting you. Chance as far as like the dice and stuff like that go, and then rules as far as like the actual rules of the game being like the 3rd most important thing, which is great. A whole section here on the quality fiction theater of the mind and how you can do that with numbers and bullet points under that on how things like making rulings make sense, not pulling punches, narrative formalities, using urgency or using player agency throughout the entire thing as a catalyst for immersion. I mean, it's like 20 pages of this, and it's all really good stuff. And the referee FAQ section, I think, is really, really well done in a way that's really digestible. So like, how do I move the spotlight between players? Like, how do I handle partial success, especially in combat? That is a great fucking question.
This could very easily be your first tabletop RPG.
I mean, yeah, it could. I mean, it could for sure.
Like, I feel like a lot of times we read a lot of games, and like a lot of times I'm like, oh yeah, like you could definitely play this first. And sometimes I'm like, no, you couldn't for this one. But this one, I'm like, oh, you easily, if you read this all the way through and you use the tools available for you, this could be your first tabletop RPG, Yeah.
Well, I think this could be a good intro tabletop RPG too, because there's nothing in it that's like insanely difficult to grasp.
Yeah.
And as the referee running it, even if you're running it as your first one, that might be a tiny bit harder because of the mixed success. But I feel like you said, the tools in here make it completely feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this section here on how do I handle partial success is what I was talking about earlier. It says the first line, don't worry too much about it. It's not that hard. All you have to do is think about ways where things go wrong. And it literally says that line here. It says, these groceries are slipping out of my hands. I might have to crab walk up the stairs. If the light turns red before I get there, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. If I phrase this wrong, I could offend that person I'm talking to. Simple, mundane complications like these are just as compelling as narrative flourishes. So like, it doesn't have to be something insane.
So clever. And then it references the partial success table at the back of that on 147, which is a great table. I don't know why there aren't more partial success tables, because I was reading it and I was
let's just hop there real quick just so people know what we're saying here. 147, it's roughly there. So 147. Where's the partial success table? Magical syllables, combat behavior, hit locations, faction armors, faction missions. Partial success, it's actually 148. Found a little thing there. Claymore. 148. Or maybe it's the section of tables that starts on page 147 of the intelligence matrix. Regardless. So partial success, this is a yes but table, which yes but, I mean, also, yes, but Yes. Yes. We say yes to butts here. So so roll a D66. Let's see.
Yeah, I got a 56 actually. So
all right. So what is yours?
I'm 5, 6. Mine's social. You'll be watched constantly. So it's really cool. So it is a D66 table, but also each is like you could just roll for one specific thing you're doing. If they're making like a mental like test, you could just roll the D6 on mental and pick from one of those. You know,
very true. Very true. Yeah.
Like it's an incredibly usable table that just gives you a couple of jumping off points. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious just for that specific reason. I think it fits well in the context of all the tables, but this could be just broken out into like 6 smaller tables of.
I agree. I wonder about the use case for it being a D66 table. You know.
Well, especially because like unless it's a completely random partial success for anything that could happen, you're right that a lot of times you're going to be looking for specific mental or combat or general. So having 6 separate tables could be a thing, but it's not. I mean. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. But, like, for example, so in combat, if you roll, like, a 4, it says you hurt a teammate, too. That's great.
Yeah. And, like, you know, I feel like 6 examples go a really long way, especially if you're new to something like this, for, like, helping you generate more, you know? And you always have those 6 to kind of fall back on.
That's exactly it, is you don't need to give an unlimited number of examples because those 6 examples should fuel your brain to make more on your own.
Like, oh yeah, I could do that, you know? Yeah.
But what about this, you know?
And even like you hurt a teammate too, like even that can like change shape and grow and still be you hurt a teammate too, but you're like, oh, now I can think more creatively about what that looks like. Yeah, I fuck with this table heavily. So
yeah. The whole I fuck with this game heavily, dude. It's so good. So
yeah, it's a really good game. So
yeah, we will be playing this. I'll tell you, there will be a side quest of Fist, probably sooner than later. So cruising through the rest of the referee FAQ section, there is another whole page here for more concept art of characters. That is just
very
fucking
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, very cool. I like the. Is there like the lizard dinosaur?
The robot lizard thing?
Lizard, yeah, very cool.
Is it?
What the fuck?
Right? Like, but is it mech? But is it armor? Like, I don't know. It's dope. Yeah. There's a section on mission making, which is guide to planning, creating situations, objectives, rewards, consequences, tactics. Like, it's just really good read all the way through. And the great thing is you don't have to read all of it. This is the referee section, but there is an example mission here, which is great. Again, it goes into an intel file number, internal circulation, like intelligence matrix. So it's a great, like, it's written up like a file, but also as an example of use. And I love that kind of like meta in-world thing, which is really great. So, but it's also an example, like choose a starting point and it gives you one. And then it gives you the characters and it says a free associating across a matrix. So factions, and then it tells you what page they're on and then gives you one. Enemies and experiments, and then tells you what page they're on and then gives you one. Like, this is the really, really well done description of like how to put a mission together. And then there is like an actual full-on example mission, the Ooga Doogo job, which is really, really great. But we don't read that, but that's a great little intro mission. Maybe you'll see that on the channel or something similar.
That'd be cool. Yeah. I actually have not read that, so I might not, just in case. Yeah. So building worlds, Fist anti-canon collaborative world building. I mean, again, modding Fist, quick reference to like engineering, making trait rolls, tags, and base upgrades. So it's really like how to modify without breaking the system, which is a great thing to have. It's a great tool for people that want to make other stuff with it. And then that's it for the referee section. Then we get to the supply section. So we'd already talked about the trait index, which is a huge part of the game. Where are we at now? The roll index, which we roll on. Yep, the intelligence matrix, which is, there's a whole introduction to just the intelligence matrix. And this is the only part that I think realistically, like if you were going to break this book into 2 things, like this is where you would have a second book, is the intelligence matrix would be its own thing. You could have the game run to 69 pages, which not a bad thing. And then, but you don't need to.
It's fine as it all is. I'm saying if there was a choice to break it into two separate things, this is where you could theoretically break it up. But introduction to the, why don't you love the intelligence matrix? Why don't you break down the intelligence matrix for us?
Yeah. So it is pretty much just a collection of like tools and tables and things to like fuel your own like creative work in this game. There are like I'm just gonna read what it says because I think it says it. Greetings, operative. If you stuck with us so far, then you're clearly in it for the long haul. Welcome to the Intelligence Matrix. This section of Fist Ultra Edition is provided as a toolbox for constructing an infinite array of game objects, missions, campaigns, gameplay styles, and stories in any way you'll like. And it's really just kind of a comprehensive rundown of the things you'll find in a Fist game and world, and like a creative tool for creating your own stuff, or like if you need to pull something really quickly or generate something really quickly. I love this. I think it's really, really cool. There's a lot of reading in this, and I would heavily encourage like the first, I think 3 or 4 pages are talking about different things you can add to the game, or like talking about Cyclops, which is your opposing faction to Fist. The only cannon pit in the anti-cannon game is Cyclops. But you don't have to have Cyclops. But yeah, I just like this as a toolkit. You know, going over like, what are you saying?
No, it's this is what I'm saying is like as a toolkit, and especially something that you could have at the table. I would almost just print this out and put it on like a ring notebook that you could easily flip open and have open on the table as like a quick reference. Really cool. Dude, especially the rule summary, the first 2 pages on 71 and 72 is great. It's the premise, how to do character creation, the tactics and roles, the dice and playing the game, how death works, items, rendezvous points, character advancement, running the game, enemies and NPCs and Cyclops, all in like those first 2 pages. Like that's an easy, like if you have that spread open on the table, you have the whole game in front of you, and then being able to quick flip to anything else with like tabs on the side for each of the I would print this out and put it into like a tabbed like spiral notebook in a fucking heartbeat to run the game like that, where you could have things going.
That could be yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, I might, maybe I'll do that. Another spiral notebook here into my collection. I just think like I love stuff like this. Especially if you get writer's block or you're trying to plan and you're just like, man, even just reading through this as you're planning, and just jotting down notes, being like, oh, that's a good idea. Like, let me just drop that in here. Like it's roll tables. You can roll on these and generate. But like a lot of times when we have like roll tables like this and I'm planning like a game or, like I went through Vaults of Varn's law roll tables, and I was just using some of it, and I wasn't even rolling all of it, but just like inspiration points, very cool, really incredibly useful, and that's why I'm like, this could be your first game you ever run, because you're gonna have very little questions because it gives you so many answers, Yeah,
and dude, I gotta say the optional rules, I love.
Exploding
so many
war
good
dice.
Ones.
Exploding War Dice is the one I would use immediately.
Well, just in general, the thing that's great about this, I think, is I would use almost every fucking one of these. Yeah. But I do love that they were putting the optional rules for 2 reasons. One, because as you said multiple times, this could be your first game. You don't need all of this to have a fantastic time, right? But abstract ammo tracking is an insanely good rule where you have like an ammo score. And if you roll over that score, you're out. If you roll under that score, you keep going. But every time you do, you add more. So like, it's not just D6, but it is really fantastic. Exploding war die, like you just said, like if your war die rolls a 6, you get another D6 and another D6 and it explodes.
The insane things that could happen when you roll 3 D6 of damage or whatever.
Yeah. And and one of my favorites is sudden death. I mean, the game's already brutal as fuck. Like you can get one shot at it at any time. But sudden death, when a PC snake eyes during combat, the mode of play shifts to sudden death. During sudden death, all damage is doubled after applying any other bonuses, and armor is rendered useless by the force of incredible violence. Sudden death applies to everyone and lasts until someone dies. That's so fucked. Like, that is so good and so fucked. It's
I actually
literally
did not read that one before this, so I'm like, oh, that's...
my brain immediately went to, if I was back in my old setup, if someone rolls double ones, I immediately hit the red light button and all the lights in the room turn red and we are in sudden death mode until someone dies, and then you click back the normal lights. Like, how sick would that be? And like an alarm sound in the back. There's a
sudden death.
Yeah. Oh, so good. But yeah, this whole thing is just amazing. Like, the intelligence matrix all the way through is if we go back up to the index here, you literally get the everything we just said about the optional rules. There's a whole section on gear, which includes weapons, armors, gadgets, vehicles, a whole section on the world. Each section's roughly like 5 to 10 pages. A whole section on characters, enemies, factions, locations, lore, miscellaneous, and then in the very back you get some really, really gorgeous handouts. Let me go all the way to the back here. Standalone tables are also great, which is, I think, where we had the mixed success stuff. But there is a grid map where you can define the area and scale, so you can easily hand that to them to like be mapping out if they're infiltrating an area, if they want to use that. There's a hex map for the same kind of reasons. There's a world map, which I really, really love, where there's like a list of like...
a very cool addition.
Oh my God. The factions, timelines, and everything, where you could have like... I love the idea of like just the lines of like where you've traveled and where you're supposed to go and stuff. This is such a cool, like really simple but clean map. And that world map designed by Christopher Schneese. And then there's a license to it right there. Really great. And the character sheet is super clean, super nice, and I love how clean it is, but then also like the black at the bottom. This is what we're talking about with layout, and using layout as like a dynamic like quasi art, where the difference between the black and white really brings your focus to like your stats and like the important stuff and allows you to fill in the other areas really, really cleanly. So, and like code name, pronouns, roles, traits. I mean, like fuck yeah, this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really stoked on this one, and I've wanted to talk about it. I'm glad we did.
So good. And then the back is great. The whole section here, it brings up the A team this time. Metal Gear Solid, Doom Patrol. But it says here, create a stronger, more powerful mark than ever before with 23,220 possible starting character builds.
God.
Insanity.
Ugh,
insanity.
So many.
Yeah. So before we get to the reviews and stuff, we do want to talk about a couple of things. This game is kickstarting, or should we talk about that after the review? What do you think?
Miles, let's just talk about it now.
Okay, so the game is kickstarting. We've been chatting with Claymore a little bit. Awesome person, by the way. Really great. Super. They absolutely deserve to have this game blow the fuck up. And we've seen some stuff we're not allowed to talk about, which is really great. But there's a couple things that I can talk about. One is that there's going to be multiple editions of the game on the Kickstarter. Very excited for that. There will be some special edition stuff. Not going to get too deep into it. But one of the things that I'm really excited for is the stretch goals. So a lot of the stretch goals are going to be geared around towards actually creating new books. Because as far as the game, a lot of it is done. Like this is a preview copy of the book. Like the book exists. Like there's not a whole lot of writing to go into the rest of it. It exists. And there's a fun note here that you were going to get, but I'll send it to you after.
I didn't see the note, so I'll see it when you send it.
One of the things that that we do know is going to happen, or is one of the stretch goals, is a new edition of the Mandelbrot set,
which I don't have physically either. So stoked for that.
The great thing I love about Mandelbrot is the kind of the use of the same styles, but an advancement into like color and stuff like that, which is really, really gorgeous. Love the fractal zone maps, the black and white on red, but there's some really dynamic art and stuff all the way through here as well. Let me flip to the one page that I really love this one a lot. Oh, the Holy Diver sheet here. with like the spaceman suit and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the Mandelbrot set is a campaign kit, which is really great. And there's going to be, I think, multiple campaign kits in the Kickstarter, and a hope for a revised expanded edition of the Mandelbrot set, which we're absolutely super excited for, and a couple other adventures. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names of them if Claymore's still here.
No, there's a couple more adventures coming out. So
yeah. So super excited. Yeah, just in case. So super excited for the Kickstarter. Right now is September 27th. I believe the Kickstarter starts at 6 p.m. CST on the September 30th?
It's August 27th right now, not September 27th. So
it is. And the Kickstarter comes out is it in 3 days or in a month? Is my brain broken immediately?
We're doing a really good job tonight. Hey,
listen. We are. It's August 30th. All right, Claymore, thank you so much. I knew it was right around the corner, but something in my brain said no. So literally the campaign starts in like 3 days, 6 p.m. CST. I can't fucking wait. I'll tell you what. I don't care what the highest tier is. I'm giving this person money.
It's funny because I'm so trying to save money right now, but this is definitely one that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. So
you fucking have to. You have to.
I really do. I really like this one. I've been really stoked about it for a while. I'm glad we finally talked about it on the show because I've been kind of talking to you about it.
Oh yeah.
For a while now. I'm like, oh yeah, I think this shit's so cool.
Well, once as soon as we saw that the Kickstarter was dropping, we're like, well, this is the perfect fucking time. Like this game is amazing. Hopefully if our show ever actually gives you a bump, let us know, because that would be cool to know. I don't the fact that if we can make any impact whatsoever, that'd be really dope. The other thing I want to talk about real quick prior to jumping into the actual scores is there was a pre-order for some stuff recently, and then a Kickstarter was announced. So some people like myself snagged all the stuff in pre-order, and there was an email that went out. So in case you didn't get it, there's some info that you have for that. A lot of the stuff that you could have got from the pre-order is also going to be part of the Kickstarter, like the core book and the rations pamphlets and stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff is going to be a little bit different in the Kickstarter. Like there's going to be some more special stuff that goes with it. But I think they say multiple times throughout this, like if you pre-ordered and it's something you could get later, you could get a refund if you wanted, but also the Kickstarter is not gonna like deliver for quite a while, and the pre-orders will come out a lot sooner than that. So if you want the book physically in your hand,
I did get the email, so
there you go. One of the things that I really love that they did here, which is a very it's an awesome thing for backers and people that have supported them, is I think there's going to be a tier for without the book. So if you pre-ordered the book already, you can get I think it's pretty much everything as a Kickstarter tier without the book, so you're not doubling up on having to buy the book. If you don't want to, I'm going to get like 8 of the books. I don't give a shit. But that is an option here. If you do not get the email, it's a great email. You could reach out to Claymore or whatever about that, but just know I believe it says that they're pushing the ship date to the first half of September for the pre-order stuff, but the box set and everything is, I believe, going to be delivering in 2024. Will not ship till August of 2024. So if you want that new book now, it'll be a year before you would get the stuff later. So if you did pre-order, not a bad idea to eventually just get 2 and give one to a buddy later. Just give them money.
I think that's exactly what I'm gonna give my second one to somebody else at some point in time, or my third one actually, because I think by then I'll have 3.
At least, yeah. So that's what's going on with the Kickstarter. So why don't we jump into the actual score real quick? And we'll talk about.
We do that.
We do that. We everything I just said we probably should have done after, but now you have to watch the score with us, people. So so the other thing too is this is episode 101, right? So we have been talking a little bit, and we are very excited, and we love a lot of these games. We don't really review bad games because we want to say mean stuff about people for the most part on the internet, unless you're a fascist, and fuck you. But we review a lot of really good games that we really like. Yeah, or yeah. But we review games on these full-size games on a 5-score metric. It's art and layout is 1, usability is 1, rule set is 1, originality and value. And it's 10 points for each for a total of possible 15, or total possible 50. we feel that maybe we're not going to be harsher in our critiques. I think our critiques are where they want, but I think our numbers have kind of drifted a little bit higher than we really kind of want.
Right.
I thought we were talking and it's like, well, what would a 1 look like? And I feel like we've kind of treated 5s kind of like 1s. So I think our numbers are going to trend more towards the middle, because a lot of parts of a game are fine, and having something that's like just average and fine is fine for parts of the game. So if you have like a super basic, a great example is like art and layout. If you have black on white with maybe a tiny bit of spot art and that's about it, that's going to be like a 5, maybe a 6 if the spot art's really good. And that's average. That's a normal standard, layout, and that's fine. So I think a lot of our numbers are going to trim more 5 to 7 than I think where they have been, which has been a lot more like 6 to 8, 7 to 9. You know what I mean?
And then after episode 200, they're going to trend even lower. We're going to really start
nothing above a 5.
Yeah.
Well, by then we'll have done all the.
You're going to pray for 5s then.
Right. So again, we're not going to be necessarily harsher in what we're going to say, but I think the numbers are going to trend a little bit lower. So just not that anyone gives a fuck but us. But for our millions of adoring fans out there, just we want to explain, the differences. So
for insane Ozo.
Yeah, for like the one person that actually engages. Thanks so much, dude. So art and layout is the art. It's all the visuals that are within the game. It's the art that it's used. It's the layout and the design of it. It's visually the layout and how it looks and stuff like that. A game doesn't have to have a ton of art or any art at all to have a good score in art and layout. It's just, is the art, does it fit the vibe of the game? Is it the correct amount for what the game feels like? Usability is things like bookmarks and PDFs and handouts and or hyperlinks and bookmarks and I know I said that twice, but I mean like bookmarks digitally and like a ribbon, that kind of shit.
Right.
How well the game is as far as usability. Is the order of the sections well done? Stuff like that. Rule set is clearly the rule set. If it's a hack rule set, how well is it hacked? If it's your own rule set, do we like it? Stuff like that. Originality is exactly what that sounds like, but it's a mix of kind of all of those things all together. Has this been done before? If so, is this done in a new way? And then value is how much value you get for how much money you spend. It's not just what it costs, but it's what you get for what you spend. So are there campaign kits out there? Are there extra adventures? Is there third-party content? Are there online generators? Crap like that. So
have there been 2 separate jams or 3 maybe at this point that have created a ton of stuff for this game?
Right.
Maybe.
So art and layout. The Ultra Edition is obviously a step up from the original edition.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It looks great. I mean, the 3-column layout is amazing. The switching from like the manual to like the Intel documents and like the font changes, very cool, very stylish. I think art really fits the vibe. I'm glad that there was a lot more art, and it was more of like the character concept and these cool full page pieces thrown in there with those like cool like blown apart diagrams of like weapons or the time machine.
Right. Yeah, it's really great. I will say, once you go through Fist and then once you go through Mandelbrot, you kind of say in your head, I would not have minded a spread like this in there, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would not have minded a spread like this with a little bit of color on it. I mean, it is a little different because a lot of these pages are black instead of, well, I say that, then I hit a big white section. So I love the layout. I think the layout choice, specifically with the 3 columns, is perfect for this game. I think I dig it. I think most of the art outside of the concept, all the blown out diagrams, I think are public domain and stuff like that. But they're done so well, so vibey.
Yeah, it fits in so incredibly well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what are you thinking for art and layout? I mean, again, so the layout is pretty basic. I think it has I don't think it's wanting for any more art. I think the amount of art that's in the Ultra Edition is really well done. But again, like if I had to say anything, the fact that it is written kind of like as a manual is really cool. But again, I wouldn't have minded a little bit of the Mandelbrot vibe kind of brought into the core book a little bit. Maybe it's a little red even splattered in there. I think would have really like made some parts pop. Not necessary, but I think that's what would have elevated it.
So like plain layout, basic layout with a little bit of spot art. I would say that's about a 5. That's what we've kind of reached, is like that's a 5. I would say this is definitely above that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really enjoy looking. I think it looks very good visually, even if it is just like black on white. Not that that's a detriment. That's not a bad thing, especially in this case. For me, this is like somewhere between a 6 and a 7.
Yeah, I think that the 3-column layout is a variation of like, or is not the standard 2-column straight down the fucking middle.
It's definitely not.
I love that. I love the font choices throughout. Incredibly readable. The use of bolds, the use of italics, the use of what will eventually be inline hyperlinks and stuff like that, even though that's usability. But like the fact that it's always there and is always very readable. I think the diagrams, even though they're public domain, are so fucking vibey. I think that the full page art spreads for the beginning of each section are gorgeous. I definitely think that elevates it past basic. Absolutely. I'm between a 6 and a 7 too, and I'm kind of leaning in 7 on this. Like, I think I'm kind of leaning towards a 7 as well. Yeah, I think one of the things that really sets it apart too is the transition to the like kind of like in-world like file pages for like the examples of play and stuff like that. I love that bit. I really do like that. I think maybe that is what elevates it to a 7 for me, because like it's got enough art in it to be already above a 6, and it has the 3-column layout, which I think also makes it a strong 6. And then it's like, but then you get to switch off to like the intel pages or like the character files, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a 7. I agree. I think this is that is what really takes it up a notch.
So usability.
Yeah.
So are we going to go with the fact that there are going to be hyperlinks?
I was just thinking the same thing. So, I mean, I'm going to say if Claymore's still here and they can tell us that every time that it says page 152 in parentheses, like in the book itself, inline, not just in the index, then I say we just go with what it will be, and then we'll just, bitch about it later on the internet to nobody. Literally every single P will be inline hyperlinked, and it's already half done. All right. Cool. So I think we should go with what it will be. I'm fine with that. I'm very fine with that. We got this early. We got this early, and it's not even really all the way out. So yeah. Okay. So usability wise, layout, like visually gorgeous, great, super readable, super well indexed. The bookmarks are incredibly dense. We've looked at stuff lately where it's just, well, why didn't you bookmark every part of that? And this is every fucking thing is bookmarked in here. Yeah. I think goes a long way. I don't think. I mean, I love the handouts at the end. The character sheet is super great, readable, and everything in there. I mean, there's not a whole lot more you can do as far as usability in here. And I think literally the only part that I was like, maybe that might be a little bit higher was just the jargon section, and that's not even like a. And that's a pretty small gripe for me. Yeah. Or small criticism. I'm not griping, but like a small critique. So we've talked about things at this point, like that have gotten 10s and 9s, and really it comes down to like, I mean, nothing will be Troika, where every fucking page is hyperlinked back to the table of contents. The pages themselves are color coded. Death in Space was a 9, and every section of that was color coded a separate section. I mean, like those kind of things are what elevate it beyond. But I know we just talked about we're not going to be we're between, like, we're going to give a lot of 5s. The usability on this is great. It is, and I think that we're actually like itemizing these things a lot better now than we have previously. So I feel like it's a more honest like so for me, if it had like just hyperlinks or just bookmarks or just look good, like that's kind of like a 5-ish range. This has all of those things, so for me, I'm above a 6. And I'm like, it doesn't have color coded pages, which I think is a thing that we've seen before that we liked, and that's a very high elevation of usability. But the way it's sectioned, does it have a physical bookmark in it? Like this version doesn't, but I don't know. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a hardcover version. I'll tell you right now, if I got a version of this in the style of the Gangs of Titan City book, where it's like black and it's got like the silver gun on the front. If this had this like black cloth and this was like like that's embossed kind of silver on the front as just like black with that, I would, with like maybe like a silver bookmark in it, I would cream my jeans. I'll tell you that right now.
You're like when people talk about like whales, you know what I mean? Like you're that's you, man, with tabletop stuff.
You know how hard I had to fight not to get like that like $1,000 like gun from Triangle Agency? I was like, I just can't, but I want it so bad. So this one doesn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I mean, I'm at an easy 7 for this. I think every aspect of what we want from usability, including handouts and readability and indexing and everything like that, is exactly what we want from this. Like that's where I'm at easy for this. And I think anything beyond that, it would be, as you said, like getting into color coding and getting into a bunch of like bonuses and stuff like that. I think 7 is about where I'm at for this.
Easy 7. This is a very, very strong 7. You know?
Yeah. I can't. I mean.
I know.
I'm almost inching towards an 8.
Yeah. What would it need to make it an 8?
Well, when we look at things like a 10, like I said, nothing will be as good as that, and that's literally color-coded pages and shit. So I compare it to like
numbered sections. That was a big one for like getting a 10 too, is color code pages, numbered sections.
Every paragraph was its own fucking section. Yeah. Death in Space was like a 9, easy, and I mean the layout on that was so readable. I mean that even had like a hyperlinked index of all of like the tables and boxes in the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like that's when you get to a point where like your usability is insane. Where you're like, oh, you wanted this table? Let's just click on this link that takes us to the index of all tables. That then also links us to every one of those tables.
Okay.
That's the above and beyond stuff. And that was a 9. That was a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 7 is solid for this. I think 7 feels really good for this. I'm trying to think in my head what would make it an 8 compared to a 9, and I don't know. Something maybe we need the physical box set, and that might bump it up a little to actually have it in hand.
I mean, we can always come back and repost a score, which we've done before. So
all right, rule set.
Great rule set. I mean, really, like I mean, it is 2d6 partial success, which we've seen before. But let me tell you, what a great application of it.
My God.
Great like add-ons here and there that do not feel very heavy, but feel very meaningful. I mean, like it's a joy to read through. I can't wait to play it. This one's getting this one might be the one that inches up for me because I love this. Just the focus on these like building block characters. They're just 2 traits put together, but like there's 216 fucking traits. You know, I'm like, man. Also the use of roles and then like advancing because of like laying it, like leaning into your role. And then the ability to just go, okay, I'm kind of done with that role. I want to move forward with this character in a different role.
It's good. I mean, listen, your 2d6 is my favorite, and this is kind of shit's why. You know what I mean? And I love the brutality of it. I think
a gun will kill you in this game.
Yeah. Everything will kill you. A punch in the throat can kill you. I mean, realistically, it's 2d6 and you take the lowest roll. If you roll a 4, you could fucking die. Like, everything is brutal, and I love that because that's real life. Because here's the thing. Why don't you get in street fights? Because you can trip and fall and bump your head and fucking die.
Yeah, and
it happens all the time. Yeah. There are no saving throws in war, my friends. The optional rules, I think we didn't really cover all of them. They're so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, honestly, we should. They're really, really good. And as people that like, when we play this, we're playing with all that shit because I want all of that extra bonus stuff. I love this. This is one of my favorite.
I do too. I'm already really, really partial to this system. I mean, this is like I've been pushing this for a minute. So what do you think the number score is? Because I'm pretty high on this one. This is a great hunter game, you know.
I think the vibes are definitely you. I think the system is definitely exactly like the amount of inspiration I've gotten from the system for the shit that I'm working on is fucking great. Like the fate die, this starts as an 8 in my mind, like minimum. You know, because like I said,
Absolutely.
as soon as you see
personally,
abstracted ammo, as soon as you see like the sudden death mode, like the no roll advancement thing, the non-insertion zone, the variants that you can have, and honestly, 23,000 plus character options to choose from, and they're all fucking bangers, dude. Like, I mean, so nothing's gonna get a 10. the closest thing in my mind, because I thought about this literally over the past like 2 days in my mind. I was like, if I had to pick one game that we've reviewed the entire time we've been on this podcast that would get a 10, I know what game that would be. I don't know what it would be for you.
It would be I know exactly what it'd be. It'd be Kingdoms
from Sophia Tinning and a Heartbeat.
Yeah, that's so funny. I know exactly what that's God, that game is so good.
I can tell you right now, if Kingdoms was 2d6 instead of Into the Odd, it would be such an instantaneous 10 for me. It's already probably my favorite game that I've ever looked at, but that's the only thing that would bump it up. This is an 8 to me. I don't know if it can get to a 9 for me, because if you compare it to Kingdoms, that has so many, that has like the micro play, the macro play,
yeah,
just like the, you know what I mean, like, and the complexity.
I'm very okay with an 8 for this. I mean, I think for me this is a 9. But I understand why it's an 8. I just think that this screams have a great time and play, and like that kind of play where everyone's joking around but like really bought in. I
can tell you right now, if Kingdoms was our only 10, I would give this a 9.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think, unless we want to just say right now, Kingdoms is a 10 and this is a 9, and just retcon our whole shit. That's the closest I've ever gotten.
I'm fine with that. Honestly, I am actually okay with that. So.
All right, this gets a 9. And for everyone out there, Kingdoms is the only 10 rule set that we've ever read. And
I'm fine, and I am really genuinely fine with that.
And I can't think of anything that would even come close. And I in my head, I was like, that's the one I would give a 10 to. So originality, like games, this 2d6 exists, Merc games exist, but we've recently read like action-ish style game that was not this.
This is different. This is its own thing, you know? And we've read like more action-y, modern-esque games, but this lives in a great space between like action movie camp and like horror paranormal agents, and it's really very good. And like, go ahead. What are you saying?
I don't know why this in my brain, and I don't even know if this is a good thing, but I need to get it out of my brain. I feel like I'm talking strictly vibe, not third party, not anything else, strictly vibe. I feel like this almost is somewhat adjacent to the world of like paranormal Merc that like Mercborg is to like the heavy metal grimdark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's that camp aspect where you can make it as serious or camp as you want.
Yeah.
In that system, like I don't know why in my brain that's where it went. I was like, I
see where you're drawing the parallels.
It's just it's the campiness, it's the gonzo-ness that exists in like kind of like a serious setting, I think is what the parallel is.
I can't think of any other, like if I wanted to run that style of game, like I can't think of any other system that I would like. I mean, I don't know what else I would use, you know, like.
I don't know. I can't. If I wanted to run like a spy game, I would use this. If I wanted to run like a Merc game, I would do this. If I wanted to run, honestly, any modern setting, anything, this is what I would run.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a game that's not fantasy or space.
Right. Like
that I would run that's not this game.
If we were like, we're going to run a dark space game, I could name several, right? If we're going to run a cyberpunk game, I can name several, you know, like this one. I'm like, oh no, I think this is my modern spy paranormal, like weird game.
Anything post World War II. This game.
Yeah.
Can't think of anything else. 8. Yeah, I mean, just because we love it a ton doesn't mean it's completely. I mean, this all exists. You know what I mean?
It does. Nothing exists in the vacuum. I mean, especially art.
Right.
I'm struggling to think of anything that I find incredibly comparable to this that I could switch this out for and play.
Yeah, so it's not even necessarily comparable. It's like what would create a better reality. Although I love that it's anti-canon and that make it what you will. what would increase originality, in my opinion, because I'm a lore guy, would be some type of setting. I think that would be a detriment to the game, but as far as in a vacuum originality, I think a little like that is the thing that would do more for me.
But like everything so has like a setting or even like an implied setting.
There's an implied setting here. Fist versus Cyclops.
Specifically, there's
Fist
really
versus Cyclops post Cold War. Yeah. I just don't find anything in here. I mean, I think 8's we've already talked about how we give too many 9s and 10s. We've already given a 9. Sure. I think there's nothing. This game exists like the 80% of this game exists in other places.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think for weekly scroll score, I think 8 is fine. But if you're listening to this and you want the Hunter score, this is a 9 for Hunter.
There you go. We're going to just actually start splitting into 2 scores and just have 2 separate things from now on. All right. And value. So all we can really base it on right now. Oh, that is true. Truth is relative. Yes. But all we can really base it on right now is the pre-order cost. You don't happen to have the pre-order page up, do you?
I don't have. I'm usually the one who has it up too. No, I don't.
So as you bring up the pre-order page, I don't know. So the Kickstarter page isn't complete yet. So unless Claymore, who is a creator of the game and is also on a chat, wants to let us know kind of like what tier costs are and what you'll get for them, what we can tell you right now is how much the pre-orders are for the book and for the pamphlets.
$35.
Oh, okay.
Which is
all right. And do you get PDF and book for that?
I don't know.
I can only assume.
I can only assume.
It's also on itch. We're about to send out PDF keys when we ship. So yes. So you get $35 for this book. I think is a steal. I think it is the right size.
$35 for 100-something pages. Yeah, that's pretty fucking good.
And the density of the quality of what you get and how good the game is, I think that's fantastic. So for just straight cost of the thing, I think that's a good standard cost. I mean, it's hard to compare. The one that always jumps into my head is fucking Death in Space, because it's basically a special edition book for $35, hardback, foiling, bookmarks, all that shit. Yeah, but listen, $35 minimum in this economy.
On top of that, there have been multiple successful, like really successful itch jams. Oh yeah, that too.
And Mandelbrot exists, and the Rations pamphlets exist.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much for the game that if you bought it, and you ran with what was in the book, and then like you spent like $20 more on stuff, like you have so much stuff.
Years. Yeah. Years of content, like really, if you wanted to, years. Plus, form fillable character sheets, Creative Commons license. I mean, there's not a lot more that you could really want, and anything beyond that would be extras like online generators and like all sorts of stuff like that. Like, you can
hop on the Discord and you can go into the workshop or the I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, get in with them and watch what everyone's doing and posting and the characters that are randomly generated on there. And like, there's just so much material for it.
Are there any random generators for this? Because if they actually had a generator that had all the traits and roles in it, and then a generator in the intelligence matrix too, that would just blow my fucking mind. And that would really, really set it off.
I don't know if there are any like currently running. There's a character generator that was created for the jam.
Community made Discord bot that automates every table in the game.
Yeah, there we go. I've seen that.
Listen,
I'm on so many Discord, but I've obviously looked at this one a lot, and there's a lot of stuff being posted from the generators. I'm like, oh, very cool. Just whisper one of us the links and we'll post it, or shoot us on Twitter and I'll post it, because your link is just like 3 asterisks, Claymore. So listen, value wise, I feel like, I mean, this is my favorite thing, is that we said, hey, we give too many 8s and shit, and this to me is this is a great game. Like, this is a strong start to like the second 100 episodes. Yeah. And like, frankly, go ahead.
Let's just value real quick. 8 for me.
8, easy.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, continue.
I don't think other things are going to score this high.
No,
like I think this is going to be maybe like an outlier for the next several games. Like even in recent memory, like of full size games, this is probably my favorite we've been through. You know,
I mean, yeah, I really genuinely. That was what I was saying to a point, is that we are gonna be a little bit, we're gonna trend a lot closer to 5s in almost all of our stuff, and this got 7, 7, 9, 8, 8. For a total of 39, which honestly, like, when we compare that, like, if we were to go back over everything we had already done, I think there's a lot of games that fall in like 38, 39. That'd be a lot closer to 33 to 35.
I agree. And I think maybe you and I in our free time together might go through some and talk. So
just make a new list and just redo all 100.
Slowly over time. It doesn't have to be a thing on the channel, but you and I can do it, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we want to, eventually we can just review the entire thing, but it would literally just be like this game, boom, this game, boom. We couldn't do what we did. It took us 3 hours to do 15 games. We can't do it for 100.
It would take us less time. I just wasn't. No one was in a hurry that day, so
yeah, no, we weren't. So it's got a 39, which, regardless of being harsher or not, is one of the higher scores we get. As soon as you hit 39, 40-ish, you're in the top like 10 games that we've ever reviewed. I will say this feels like one of the top 10 games we've ever reviewed.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There, in my mind. In my mind, there's like 5 games that I would play. Like, if someone was just like, hey, you're free tonight, I will run this game. There's 5 games that I would never, ever say no to. This is now one of them.
You bet.
This, I think what I said earlier about anything that you want to play post World War II, I don't know why you wouldn't play this. Yeah, unless you're doing something like Magic or superhero thing, you know? Yeah. And even then, you can do magic and superheroes in this if you really want.
Yeah, you really could. I mean, hack it a little bit. I mean, which if you want to modify it, there is a section on how to do that without breaking the game. In the game.
Everything you want or need in this game. Like I said, the only thing that I think I would do in addition to this would be print out the entire intelligence matrix, or just chop it off in the PDF, take it somewhere and have it printed as a wire book, and then put tabs on it for the sections, so I can have the intelligence matrix right next to me in like an easily like open like thing. It's the only thing that I would have as an extra is to have that. I love the fuck out of this game. I'm glad this is episode 101. I'm super excited that we've been chatting with Claymore. I can't wait for the Kickstarter. Like, again, we're going to be running this game sooner than later. Would love to have Claymore on to run it whenever that becomes a feasible option for all of us. And this is great. Fucking Fist. Just got fisted, buddy.
Fist. We did it.
Woo! We did it. So once again, please go follow the Kickstarter. Go back the fuck out of this Kickstarter. If you're listening to it right now, I don't know if I'll actually have it published by the 30th, so it'll probably be right when the Kickstarter starts. So the link to the Kickstarter will be in the description, whether it's on podcast or YouTube. Definitely go check all of that stuff out. Check all of our stuff out at Linktree / the weekly scroll. All of our links in there for everything, and if you're watching, they're all beneath us right here. That's all I got. That's it. And that's all you got, buddy?
That's all I got.
All right. I don't know what we're doing next or when it's gonna happen, so listen, everyone out there,
hey, someday somewhere we'll be somewhere, so
there
see you there.
See you there. And listen, go buy the fucking book. All right, guys? Bye.